There's a version of you you will never meet. It lives inside someone else's mind. It speaks with your voice, but says things you don't remember saying. It carries your face from a moment you've already forgotten. And somewhere right now, someone is thinking about that version of you. The question isn't whether they remember you accurately. The question is, why does it bother you so much that they might not? Problem deep dive. Most people carry a quiet, persistent anxiety that doesn't have a clean name. It's not quite loneliness. It's not quite regret. It's that strange discomfort of wondering, who am I in someone else's story? You replay old conversations. You edit sentences you said years ago. You wonder if someone thinks less of you for something you barely remember doing. Psychologists call this social monitoring, the brain's continuous background process of tracking how we appear to others. It evolved for good reason. In early human groups, being misremembered as untrustworthy wasn't just emotionally painful, it was dangerous. So the brain developed a self-monitoring loop, a kind of internal PR department that never stops asking, how am I being perceived right now? But here's where it starts to fracture. That loop was designed for small groups, for people you saw every day, whose memory of you could actually be updated. It was never designed for the modern world, where someone from a decade ago still holds a version of you in amber, frozen at 23, frozen in a fight, frozen in a moment of insecurity you've long since moved past. Reframe. Here's something psychology quietly confirms. You are not one person, not in the way that sounds alarming, but in the way that is simply, factually true. Every person who knows you holds a slightly different model of who you are. Social psychologists call these person schemas, internal mental maps we build of other people, based on the moments we've witnessed, filtered through our own biases, our own moods, our own needs at the time. The version of you that lives in your mother's memory is not the version that lives in your closest friends. The version your first boss remembers is not who you became 3 jobs later. None of them are wrong, and none of them are fully right. They are all partial illuminations of something that cannot be completely seen from any single angle. You are not broken because people hold contradictory versions of you. You are simply a 3-dimensional being living in a 2-dimensional snapshots. Psychological mechanism. The brain science here is worth sitting with. When someone forms a memory of you, they're not recording what actually happened. Memory doesn't work like a camera, it works more like a sculptor. Every time someone recalls a moment with you, their brain reconstructs that memory, adding new material from their current emotional state, their updated beliefs about who you are, and the story they've been telling themselves about what that relationship means. This is called memory reconsolidation, and it happens every single time a memory is retrieved, which means the version of you that someone carries in their mind is not a fixed photograph. It's a living thing, being quietly rewritten every time they think of you. There's another process at work here too. The self-discrepancy theory, developed by psychologist E. Torrey Higgins, tells us that emotional distress often comes from the gap between who we believe we are, who we think we should be, and who we imagine others see us as. When those 3 versions don't align, the brain registers it like a threat. Not a metaphorical threat, a real one, processed in the same regions as physical pain. That ache you feel when you wonder what someone thinks of you, that's not vanity, that's your nervous system doing its ancient job, trying to close a gap it was never meant to fully close. Practical framework. So how do you live peacefully with versions of yourself you'll never control? 1. Accept the incompleteness. No one sees you whole, not even you. Psychologists have long documented the introspection illusion, the fact that we often don't have accurate access to our own motivations in inner states. If you can't see yourself completely, you cannot reasonably expect anyone else to. Release the need for the memory to be accurate.
it was never going to be. 2. Update what you can, release what you can't. If a relationship matters and the version they hold of you is outdated, you can offer them a new moment. Not an explanation, not a correction, a new moment. Behavior over time is the only editor of someone else's memory. But for the people who have moved on, or for the moments too small to revisit, the update isn't yours to make, and carrying that tension is more expensive than it's worth. 3. Tend to your own memory of yourself. Here is what goes unexamined. The version of you that lives in your own mind is also just a reconstruction. Cognitive behavioral research shows that we are often our own least accurate narrator. We overweight embarrassing moments. We underweight quiet acts of courage. The practice isn't self-love as performance. It's simply a more honest accounting, noticing where you have been unkind to your own story. 4. Let other people's memories be theirs. Someone else's version of you tells you more about them than it does about you. The lens they used to see you, their past wounds, their expectations, their emotional state, colored everything they captured. That's not an excuse to avoid accountability. It's a reminder that you were never fully in control of how you showed up. You were only ever in control of who you showed up as. Integration. Here is the mental model to carry forward. Think of yourself not as a fixed object, but as a source of light. Light doesn't control how it lands. It doesn't decide which surfaces absorb it and which reflected back distorted. It simply radiates from whatever it actually is. Every person who has known you caught some of that light at a particular angle, at a particular moment in time. What they hold is real, and it is incomplete. Both things are true. Your job is not to manage the reflections. Your job is to tend to the source, to be as clearly and consistently as you can who you actually are. Not the person trying to control every memory, not the person shrinking to be remembered kindly, but the person who understands that the light itself is enough. Quiet, empowering close. Somewhere out there, someone is remembering a version of you from a Tuesday afternoon 3 years ago. They might be smiling. They might have gotten it slightly wrong. Both things are allowed. You are not responsible for every impression you leave. You are responsible for the person you are becoming, right now, in this moment, long after that Tuesday is gone. The version of you that lives in other people's memories is a ghost, beautiful sometimes, incomplete always. But you are not a memory. You are still here, still becoming. And that is the only version of yourself worth tending to.